The Belmont Grand Hotel's crystal ballroom glittered under 3 massive chandeliers, each one worth more than most houses. 500 guests filled the space, all carefully selected from my parents' elite social circle. Executives, philanthropists, politicians, the kind of people who appeared in business magazines and charity gala coverage. Dad's 62nd birthday gala was the social event of the season, meticulously planned by my mother over 6 months. Ice sculptures, a 12-piece orchestra, champagne that cost more per bottle than most people's weekly grocery budget. Everything perfect, everything impressive, everything designed to showcase the Montgomery family's status. I stood near a marble column in a simple navy dress I'd owned for 4 years. No designer label, no elaborate beading, no sky-high heels. Just a plain dress with comfortable flats and minimal jewelry. A single strand of pearls my grandmother had given me before she died. My older brother Preston worked the room in his Armani tuxedo, his wife Caroline beside him in a custom Vera Wang gown that probably cost $15,000. They moved from group to group like professional socialites, air-kissing and laughing at precisely the right moments. My younger sister Madison held court near the champagne fountain in head-to-toe Dior, showing off her recent purchase, a vintage Cartier necklace she'd found at auction for only $70,000. Her fiancé Trevor was beside her, both of them glowing with the confidence of people who'd never questioned their place in the world. Mom floated through the crowd in a champagne-colored Oscar de la Renta gown, dripping in diamonds that caught the chandelier light. Dad was beside her in a custom tuxedo, beaming as person after person congratulated him on another successful year as CEO of Montgomery Capital, the private equity firm he'd built over 30 years. And then there was me. Harper Montgomery. The daughter who embarrassed them by existing. Harper. Mom's voice cut through the ambient conversation and orchestra music. She was weaving toward me through the crowd, her smile tight and her eyes sharp. A word. Now. I followed her to a quieter corner behind one of the ice sculptures, already knowing what was coming. "What are you wearing?" she hissed, her voice low enough that only I could hear, but her body language broadcasting disapproval to anyone watching. "A dress," I said simply. "That is not a dress appropriate for a gala," she said. "Look around, Harper. Look at what everyone else is wearing. Designer gowns, appropriate jewelry, elegant styling. And you show up looking like you're attending a business casual meeting." "The invitation said formal," I said. "This is formal. This is Target," she snapped, fingering the fabric of my sleeve. "Or maybe Macy's on clearance. Can tell, Harper. Everyone can tell. Do you know how embarrassing this is for your father and me?" "I wasn't aware my clothing choices reflected on you," I said. "Everything you do reflects on us," she said. "You're Montgomery. When you show up to events looking like you shop at outlet malls, people notice. They talk. They wonder why our daughter can't afford proper clothing." "I can afford proper clothing," I said quietly. "Then why don't you buy any?" she demanded. "Why do you insist on dressing like you're poor? You're 30 years old, Harper. This reverse snobbery thing where you pretend money doesn't matter? It's not charming. It's embarrassing." A group of Mom's friends was glancing our way, clearly curious about the tense conversation. "Can you at least try to look presentable?" Mom's voice rose slightly, loud enough now that nearby guests could hear. "Your cheap outfits embarrass us. This is your father's birthday gala. 500 guests. Some of the most important people in the city. And my daughter shows up looking like she borrowed clothes from a secretary." The whispers started immediately. I could see heads turning, people leaning toward each other, mouths hidden behind champagne glasses as they shared my mother's assessment of my wardrobe. "I'm sorry," I said quietly because it was easier than arguing. "Sorry doesn't fix it," she said. "Next time let me buy you something appropriate. Or better yet, go shopping with Madison. She knows what's acceptable." "I'll keep that in mind," I said. Mom swept away, leaving me standing alone behind the ice sculpture. I could feel eyes on me, could hear the whispers growing. "Is that Margaret's daughter? The one who works at that nonprofit? Poor thing probably can't afford anything nice. How embarrassing for the family." I took a sip of water, not champagne, just water, and tried to decide if I wanted to stay or leave. These events were always the same. My family finding new ways to publicly humiliate me while maintaining their perfect social image. Preston appeared beside me, drink in hand. "Harper, really? You couldn't make an effort for Dad's birthday. I'm here, I said. I thought that was the effort. You know what I mean, he said, eyeing my dress. Mom's right. You look out of place. Everyone here spent thousands on their outfits. You show up looking like you're going to a job interview. Would you prefer I didn't come at all? I asked. I'd prefer you respected the family enough to dress appropriately, he said. But since you're here, try to stay out of the spotlight. Don't make this about you and your weird anti-luxury statement. It's not a statement, I said. It's just a dress. It's embarrassing, he corrected, then walked away to rejoin Caroline. Madison was next, appearing with Trevor in tow. Harper, Mom is so upset. Could you please for once just play along? Or something nice. Act like you belong in this family. I do belong in this family, I said. Do you though? Trevor said, and his tone was crueler than my siblings. Because you don't act like it. You don't dress like it. You work at some charity making poverty wages while your family runs a private equity firm. You're like the black sheep who won't even try to fit in with the rest of the flock. Trevor, Madison said, but she was smiling. That's mean. It's true, he said. Look at her. She could afford better. Her trust fund from her grandfather is probably substantial. But she chooses to dress like this. It's not about money. It's about making a point. About being difficult. I'm not trying to be difficult, I said. Then stop acting like you're too good for nice things, Madison said. Stop pretending money doesn't matter. We all know you have access to the family wealth. You just refuse to use it because you think that makes you noble or something. They walked away, leaving me alone again. I checked my watch. A simple Timex that probably cost $40. It was 8:47 p.m. Right on schedule. The ballroom doors opened and 4 men entered. They wore identical black suits, earpieces, and the unmistakable bearing of professional security. They moved with military precision, scanning the room, communicating through subtle hand signals. The conversations nearest the door faltered. People noticed. Started whispering. The head of security, I recognized Marcus, though we'd only met via video conference before tonight, walked directly toward me. His 3 colleagues fanned out, taking positions at key points around the ballroom. Ms. Montgomery, Marcus said, stopping in front of me with a slight nod. His voice carried enough that nearby guests could hear. I apologize for the interruption during your father's celebration, but we have a developing situation that requires your attention. Every conversation within 20 feet stopped dead. What kind of situation? I asked calmly. The governor's security team called. He's arrived early and would like to meet with you privately before his speech. Also, the Belmont's owner, Mr. Chin, is asking if you need anything. He wants you to know the entire hotel is at your disposal tonight. Any accommodations you require, any changes to the venue setup, anything at all. The silence spreading through the ballroom was like a physical wave. The entire hotel, someone whispered. Mom had frozen mid-conversation, her champagne glass halfway to her lips. Thank you, Marcus, I said. Tell the governor I'll meet him in the Windsor suite in 10 minutes. And please thank Mr. Chin for his hospitality, but everything is perfect as is. Understood, ma'am, Marcus said. He spoke into his wrist. Calm. Primary is moving to Windsor suite in 10 minutes. Secure the route. Also notify the governor's detail. Wait, Dad's voice cut through the stunned silence. He was walking toward me, my mother beside him, both their faces showing confusion. Harper, what's going on? Why does my daughter have security? Marcus looked at me for permission. I nodded. Mr. Montgomery, I'm Marcus Chin, head of Ms. Montgomery's personal security team. I lead a detail of 12 professionals who provide 24/7 protection. 12. Dad repeated faintly. Sir. 4 are here tonight, 8 more are stationed throughout the hotel and surrounding area. Standard protocol for high-value principals in public settings. High-value principals, Mom whispered. Preston had pushed through the growing crowd. Harper has security. Why would Harper need security? Marcus's expression didn't change. Ms. Montgomery's net worth and public profile require professional protection. After the Forbes cover story last month and the Senate testimony 2 weeks ago, the threat assessment elevated to require enhanced measures. Senate testimony? Caroline said, appearing beside Preston. What Senate testimony? The Banking Committee hearing on private capital and economic development, Marcus said. Ms. Montgomery was the primary witness. Her testimony is expected to influence over $20 billion in federal policy decisions. The crowd had grown substantially. At least 50 people now surrounded us, all trying to hear. I don't understand, Dad said, and for the first time in my life, I heard uncertainty in his voice. Harper works at a nonprofit. She doesn't need security. She doesn't testify before Congress. Sir, with respect, Ms. Montgomery doesn't work at a nonprofit. She owns and operates the Montgomery Development Fund, which is the largest impact investment fund in North America. Current assets under management exceed $47 billion. The number seemed to echo in the sudden silence. 47 billion, someone breathed. Marcus continued, professional and precise. The fund employs over 2,000 people, has investments in 36 countries, and manages more capital than most sovereign wealth funds. Ms. Montgomery's personal net worth was estimated by Forbes at $8.2 billion, making her the youngest self-made female billionaire in the United States. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered on the marble floor, the sound sharp in the stunned silence. That's impossible, Preston said, but his voice lacked conviction. I assure you it's quite real, sir, Marcus said. Ms. Montgomery founded the development fund 6 years ago with seed capital from her grandmother's trust fund. Through strategic investments in undervalued markets and emerging economies, she's generated average annual returns of 32% while simultaneously creating over 500,000 jobs in disadvantaged communities. 500,000 jobs, Madison repeated numbly. Yes, ma'am. The fund specializes in impact investing, generating financial returns while creating measurable social benefits. Ms. Montgomery has been featured on 3 Forbes covers, received the Presidential Medal for Economic Innovation, and has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for her work in economic development. Nobel Prize, Trevor said weakly. The nomination is still pending, I said. It's not that big a deal. Not that big a deal, Marcus agreed with a slight smile. Ms. Montgomery is remarkably modest about her achievements. The governor, however, is quite impressed. Hence his early arrival and request to meet. The governor is here to see Harper? Dad's voice cracked. The governor specifically requested that his birthday speech include recognition of Ms. Montgomery's contributions to the state economy, Marcus confirmed. Her fund's investments have created over 90,000 jobs in our state alone. He considers her a key economic partner. Mr. Chin himself appeared, the owner of the Belmont Grand Hotel, walking toward us with the urgency of a man who just realized something important. Ms. Montgomery, he said, slightly out of breath. I had no idea you were attending tonight. When your security team arrived, He stopped, looking around at the crowd. Perhaps we should speak privately? It's fine, Mr. Chin, I said. I just wanted you to know, he continued, that I'm honored to host you. The Montgomery Development Fund's investment in the Belmont Group last year saved this hotel and 17 others from foreclosure. You saved over 3,000 jobs, including mine. Anything you need tonight, anything at all, is yours. Wait, Dad said slowly. The Belmont Group. That was you. The fund purchased 65% of Belmont's debt at a significant discount during their financial crisis, I confirmed. Then we restructured the terms to allow them to stay operational. It was good investment. The hotel group is profitable again and we've seen a 28% return. You own the Belmont Group, Mom whispered. The fund does, I corrected. Along with stakes in about 400 other companies. 400 companies, Preston said. Marcus checked his watch. Miss Montgomery, the governor is waiting. Right, I said. Thank you, Marcus. I turned to my parents. I should go. But happy birthday, Dad. I hope you're enjoying your party. Wait, Dad grabbed my arm. Harper, I don't understand any of this. How? Why didn't you tell us? I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. I tried, Dad. 6 years ago when I started the fund. I told you I was launching an impact investment vehicle. Remember what you said? He paled. You said I was wasting Grandma's money on feel-good nonsense, I continued. You told me to invest in your firm instead. Let you manage the capital properly. When I refused, you told Mom I was being irresponsible. We thought, Mom started. You thought I was running a small charity, I finished. Because that's what you wanted to think. It fit your narrative better. Harper, the idealistic daughter who works at a nonprofit. Harper who can't afford nice clothes. Harper who embarrasses you at galas. The nonprofit, Madison said slowly. You said you work at the Montgomery Development Fund. We all thought it was some tiny charitable foundation. It is a foundation, I said. Just not a tiny one. We're the largest impact investment fund in North America. We generate financial returns while creating measurable social good. We've invested over $47 billion in projects that created jobs, built infrastructure, and improved lives while also making substantial profits for our investors. 47 billion, Caroline breathed. The cheap clothes, Trevor said, and something like understanding was dawning on his face. You're worth $8 billion and you wear cheap clothes. I wear practical clothes, I corrected. I don't see the point in spending thousands on designer labels when that money could be invested in projects that create jobs and opportunity. This dress cost $45. I've worn it dozens of times. It's comfortable and appropriate. But you could afford, Preston started. Of course I could afford more, I cut him off. I could afford anything. I could buy this hotel. I could buy a dozen hotels. But what would be the point? To impress people at parties? To fit in with your social circle? To avoid embarrassing Mom? You let us think you were poor, Mom said, and her voice broke. I let you think whatever you wanted, I said. You saw my simple clothes and made assumptions. You heard I worked at a foundation and decided it must be some small charity. You never asked for details. Never showed interest in my work. Never thought to wonder why I took so many international trips or had meetings with government officials or appeared in financial publications. We didn't know you appeared in financial publications, Dad said weakly. Because you don't read them, I said. I've been on the cover of Forbes 3 times. The Financial Times profiled the fund's Africa initiative. Bloomberg did a special on our Southeast Asia investments. The Wall Street Journal called me the most influential impact investor under 40. But you wouldn't know any of that because you never bothered to look. We thought you were struggling, Mom whispered. You wanted me to be struggling, I corrected. It was easier. Easier to pity me than to respect me. Easier to fix me than to understand me. Easier to be embarrassed by my clothes than to ask about my work. Marcus cleared his throat gently. Ms. Montgomery, the governor. I know, I said. Dad, I really do need to go. The governor wants to discuss the fund's new rural development initiative. We're investing $3 billion in underserved communities, creating jobs and infrastructure. It's important work. $3 billion, he repeated numbly. For this project, yes. The fund manages $47 billion total. It's our largest initiative to date. I started to walk away, Marcus and his team falling into formation around me. The crowd parted like water. Harper, wait. Madison called. Your dress. Mom said it embarrassed us. But you're worth billions. Why do you dress like that? I paused, turning back. Because I'm not insecure enough to need designer labels to prove my worth. Because I'd rather invest in creating opportunities than spend money on impressing people. Because I believe how you treat people matters more than what you wear. And because, I looked directly at my mother, I have nothing to be embarrassed about. The ballroom was completely silent now. 500 guests watching the Montgomery family drama unfold. The fund bought Dad's firm, I added almost as an afterthought. Montgomery Capital. Last year. We purchased 60% through a subsidiary. You've been working for my company for 18 months, Dad. Didn't you wonder who your new majority stakeholder was? Dad's face went from pale to gray. We kept you as CEO because you're good at your job, I continued. But the strategic direction? The new focus on responsible investing? The shift toward impact-oriented deals? That was all the fund's influence. My influence. Oh my God, Preston breathed. I've been in board meetings, Dad said slowly. With the majority stakeholders' representatives. They mentioned Ms. Montgomery, but I thought. You thought it was a coincidence, I finished. Because why would your embarrassing daughter own your company? Harper, Mom started. I need to go, I said. The governor is waiting, and unlike this party, that meeting actually matters. Marcus. Right behind you, ma'am, he said. As we walked toward the ballroom exit, I could hear the explosion of whispered conversations behind me. My family's shocked faces. The guests' amazement. The complete inversion of everything everyone had believed about Harper Montgomery. Mr. Chen walked with us to the elevator. Ms. Montgomery, again, I apologize for not recognizing you earlier. If I'd known you were the Harper Montgomery. It's fine, I said. I prefer to keep a low profile. In a $45 dress, he said, and there was warmth in his voice. You're remarkable. The funds saved this hotel, saved all of us. We owe you everything. You owe me nothing, I said. The investment made financial sense. Everything else was just good business. The elevator arrived. Marcus and two of his team entered with me. As the doors started to close, I caught one last glimpse of the ballroom. My family standing in a stunned circle. Guests surrounding them. Everyone talking, gesturing, trying to process what had just happened. The doors closed. That was dramatic, Marcus observed. Wasn't my intention, I said. I was planning to just endure the party and leave quietly. Your mother's comment about your clothes made that impossible, he said. For what it's worth, I think your dress is fine. Thank you, Marcus. Also, for what it's worth, the Timex is a nice touch. Shows you're not defined by material possessions. I laughed. The Timex is because I keep breaking expensive watches. After the third shattered Rolex, I gave up. Practical, he agreed. The elevator opened on the top floor. The governor's security team was already there, professional and alert. They nodded to Marcus, recognizing a fellow professional. Ms. Montgomery, the governor himself stepped forward, extending his hand. Thank you for making time. I know family events are precious. Happy to help, Governor, I said, shaking his hand. I wanted to personally thank you for the Rural Development Initiative, he said as we walked toward the Windsor suite. $3 billion. 90,000 projected jobs. Infrastructure improvements in 20 counties. Harper, this is transformational. It's good investment, I said, the same response I always gave. It's more than that, he said. It's leadership. It's vision. It's exactly what we need. We talked for 40 minutes about the initiative, about implementation challenges, about policy support he could provide. It was a good conversation, productive and focused. The kind of conversation I actually enjoyed, about work that actually mattered. When I finally returned to the ballroom, the party had shifted. People stared as I entered. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. My family stood together near the windows, clearly waiting for me. I walked over slowly, Marcus and his team maintaining a discreet distance. Harper, Dad said, and his voice was different now. Respectful. Maybe even odd. We need to talk. Really talk. About everything. Hey, I said. Not here, he said, glancing at the watching crowd. Tomorrow. Sunday brunch. Just family. No performance, no audience. Just us, trying to understand who you actually are. I can do that, I said. Mom stepped forward. Her makeup was streaked from crying. Harper, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For tonight. For 6 years of not seeing you. For being so focused on appearances that I missed everything. I know, I said quietly. Your dress, she continued. It's not cheap. It's practical. And I've been too shallow to see the difference. Yes, I agreed. You have. Let us try, she said. Please. Let us actually know you. I looked at my family. At their shocked, humbled faces. At Preston's confusion. At Madison's tears. At Dad's genuine remorse. Tomorrow, I said. We'll talk tomorrow. But right now this is still Dad's birthday party. Let's try to celebrate that. How? Preston asked. After everything that just happened? By focusing on what matters, I said. Dad, you turned 62. You're healthy, successful, surrounded by people who care about you. That's worth celebrating, regardless of whose company you work for or what your daughter wears to parties. Dad laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. My daughter wears $45 dresses and owns my company. I'm still processing. Process tomorrow, I suggested. Tonight, just be 62 and happy. I can try, he said. The rest of the evening was surreal. Guests who'd been whispering about my cheap clothes now approached with careful respect, asking about the fund, about impact investing, about how they could get involved. My family stayed close, protective now in a way they'd never been before. The governor's speech included a 5-minute tribute to my work, to the fund's investments, to my vision for economic development. 500 people stood and applauded. My mother cried. My father looked like he'd been struck by lightning. When it finally ended around midnight, Marcus drove me back to my apartment. A simple 2-bedroom in a modest neighborhood that I'd bought because it was close to the fund's offices and had good natural light. Quite an evening, he observed. Not what I planned, I said. Will they actually change? He asked. Your family. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Or maybe they'll just adjust their narrative. Harper the embarrassment becomes Harper the billionaire without actually understanding Harper the person in between. Which would you prefer? Understanding, I said. But I'm not holding my breath. My phone buzzed with text. From Preston, I've been such an idiot. Let me make it right. From Madison, can you teach me about impact investing? From Mom, I love you. I should have said that more. From Dad, proud of you doesn't begin to cover it. I read them all but didn't respond. Tomorrow would be soon enough for whatever came next. For tonight I was just tired. Tired of performing. Tired of being misunderstood. Tired of proving myself to people who'd already decided who I was. I changed into sweatpants and an old t-shirt, probably cost $10 combined, and made tea. Then I sat by my window looking out at the city, thinking about $47 billion and 500,000 jobs and all the ways money could matter when used for something beyond impressing people at parties. My phone buzzed again. This time a news alert. Montgomery family drama. Billionaire impact investor revealed at father's birthday gala. The story was already everywhere. Tomorrow would be interesting. But tonight I was just Harper. Drinking cheap tea in my modest apartment. Wearing comfortable clothes. Being exactly who I'd always been, whether my family saw it or not.